Hello there, and welcome to the Gina Gardner and Friends show. Today, my guest is Nicholas Haynes, and he is an amazing man and a great friend. He is from the Five Institute. He's the creator of the Vitality Test, and I've taken it, and it's something that's very special and so informative. And he's the co-founder of No More Boxes. Now, that's not about packaging. Well, I suppose it is in one way. It is about not putting people into boxes. So, Nicholas, a huge welcome. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Oh, absolutely my pleasure, Gina. I've been looking forward to this.
Oh, thank you. So, come on, what's the Five Institute? And how have you got involved with that?
Okay. I got involved with it like all good things by basically starting it, founding it. so it is my baby. And well, it is my baby, but there have been and are many people that are supportive of what we're trying to do and have helped us with it. So it is a joint effort, a collective exercise. There are many people that are involved with it. So yeah, that I started it. What are we about? I think the easiest way to describe it is we're all about internal and external cultures. How do you live with yourself, and how do we live together? Because ultimately, if we can't get that bit right, then we've got some problems. So it's about how do you live with yourself, and how do we live together? That's what we're about.
You know, I've always said to all of my clients, the most important relationship you will ever have is the relationship that you have with yourself. And that is reflected in the relationships you have with other people. And those relationships with self and others is going to be our theme today. And the vitality test that you have created, I would like to know, and I'm sure my listeners would, what is it? And why is that so useful when you're talking about relationships with self and others?
Okay. So the vitality test is based on my 40 years of working with Chinese medicine, Chinese philosophy, ancient Chinese medicine, ancient Chinese philosophy. And it's a way to assess what your energy dynamic is, the balance of 5 distinct energies we have within us. And it's designed for you to recognize, okay, I have these energies within me, and these energies are living together. So we might have one part of you wants one thing, like freedom, and another part of you wants to belong and be part of a community. Well, how does that work together? So the vitality test is measuring these energies within us. It's completely free. And it really came from, I practiced as an acupuncturist for nearly 35 years, and I had a 2-year waiting list to work with me. And however hard I worked, I couldn't get that. And it was a way to say, okay, well, could we put this information out there in the world that didn't involve me being there all the time, and therefore could we scale it? I recognized I was a very a wonderful limiting factor, but a limiting factor nevertheless.
Exactly, there are only 24 hours in every day, aren't there? And,
right.
Yeah. So what is the vitality test based?
So it's based on some Chinese philosophy that is kind of around about 3,000 plus years old. Okay. And it was used as a way, it's based on that, like the 5 elements, the 5 energies, which is part of their medical system. And it was originally used by the emperors and the kings in order to understand politics and economics, personality, relationships, and a way to kind of fundamentally understand the world. And then in a 15-year period, all the use of those 5 elements, 5 energies within economics, relationships, and everything was all destroyed. Everything. We know it was used because we have the library records, but we didn't ever have the books. Right. And there was bits left in medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, but the rest of it was lost. No, it wasn't lost. It was basically destroyed in something called the Great Fires of Qin. They basically burnt the books and buried the philosophers that talked about it. So it kind of died out in a very brutal way. And I have spent all of my adult life trying to say, okay, well, there was this wisdom. It was being used. This is my understanding of how it works with politics, economics, within education, within personal development, within relationships, within business. And I literally see it and experience it. And I spend my life trying to take what I see and experience and make that practical for people. And the vitality test is the personality relationship part of that.
What's interesting, I first came across that when you came and presented to Collaboration Global. We're both members of that. And several of my guests are members of Collaboration Global, and an incredible group of people. But what amazed me is that people had taken the test and they were blown away at how accurately that described who they were and how they operated. And particularly in terms of how they saw themselves, and when they shared it, how closely that matched how we as a group saw them. So it was really very well rounded, I thought, and more so than perhaps any model that I've seen, certainly in recent times.
Well, I'm really glad you found it that way, because a lot of work has gone in to try and create it. But ultimately, although there's a lot of work that's gone into create it, what it's doing is it's just tapping into it inherently, energetically, who we are. It's just that's what it's doing. But I think although it's brilliant at identifying who you are, what your needs are, and our relationships as well, what it doesn't do is it doesn't put you in a box and say you are this. No. It allows a fluid exploration of who you are, and also none of the 5 energies are gendered. So you don't say, okay, I have this energy because I'm a woman, or I have this energy because I'm a man. It's non-gendered. It doesn't put you in a box, and it allows us to see who we are and who other people are. And you're right. The big feedback we get from it is people say, I have never known something that has pulled out such a subtle expression of who I am.
Yes.
So thank you. I'm glad you found that.
So, we're going to go for a break in a minute, but when we come back, I want to talk about how the relationship that we have with ourselves colors our life and the life of people around us, and how, maybe having a better understanding of ourselves can help us in that deep dive work to be the best version. Why do you think it's so important that we invest the time and the energy in getting to know who we are and, becoming, I always talk about becoming your own best friend, having the same criteria for yourself as you do for other people, treating ourselves well, not indulgently, but well?
That's a really, really good question. I hope I'm going to do it justice with my answer. Actually, I'm going to go at a slight tangent first of all.
Okay.
I'm going to go a slight tangent because there's this old maxim, this old saying, treat others as though in the way that you would like to be treated.
So many people don't, do they?
No, and I'm glad that they don't treat others in the way that they want to be treated.
That they want to be treated, or they actually do?
No. Well, the idea is that you should treat others in the way that you want to be treated.
Yes. Okay.
The problem with that is you should actually treat others in the way that they want to be treated, not in the way that you want to be treated.
Interesting. Now the way I frame those words is somewhat different.
Yes, I heard you. Yeah.
And I think it's a really interesting distinction.
Yeah. So it is, first of all, recognizing the way that we want to be treated, and then the way that other people want to be treated. I think that's and not assuming that they're the same.
Yes.
So I think that's the first thing. I think that's a foundation step. The other thing I think is important within the kind of getting to know oneself is very, very easy for us to miss what it is that we're utterly genius and brilliant about and gifted about, just to miss it, because those things are incredibly easy and incredibly natural to us.
Yes.
So we then don't appreciate that we're actually brilliant and we're wonderful and we're really good at these things, because we're taught that most things have to be hard, but actually the stuff that we're the stuff that we're really good at.
It's just what we do.
It's what we do. So I often say to people, well, say, what is that stuff? Well, you can take the vitality test and that'll tell you, but you also just, what do people thank you for? And you say, oh, that was nothing. And it is nothing because it was effortless to you, but there is something about not recognizing it. I often think it's a bit like we're like all like butterflies, and when we look down we see this kind of gray, hairy, slightly tubby body, but actually what everyone else sees are these magnificent wings with colors and utter brilliance, but we just don't see that. So the vitality test,
way of putting it.
yeah, we just don't see that. So the vitality test say, look, these are your wings, this is what other people are saying. And it will be, you will say, people say, oh, thank you so much for that. That was nothing. That was fine. It was okay. Oh, thank you so much for listening. Oh, that was nothing. Oh, God, that was a great idea. Thank you so much. That was nothing. It was kind of like effortless to you. Yes. So I think when we get to understand what we're wonderful at and doing, and we feel okay about ourselves, it's kind of much easier to make other people feel okay about themselves. Yeah. Whereas if we don't feel okay about ourselves, it gets to be a slight reluctance to make everyone else look brilliant, because if we don't feel brilliant, then we don't tend, we are generous by nature, but it's quite hard if you don't like yourself to be loving and kind to other people.
You know, one of the things I think that makes the difference is how judgmental people tend to be about themselves. They use a completely different set of criteria when they're saying whether something's excellent, good, or okay, to that they expect from other people. Yeah. And I think so often we're conditioned, aren't we, that if you acknowledge your gifts, then you're being boastful. And I think making the distinction between coming from a place of ego, I'm better than you, rather than I'm the best version of me, I think that making that distinction is so important. Be interested in your view.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I'm going to show my age here. But I would say, if Louis Armstrong didn't blow his own trumpet, we would have missed out a whole lot of activity, a whole lot of life. So I think we should blow our own trumpet. But there's a difference between blowing our own trumpet and in order to put other people down, or to recognize and celebrate ourselves and celebrate ourselves. Then we also have the kind of cultural difference, isn't it? Yeah. Of certain cultures are not keen on us standing out. But I'm not really talking about I love me and who do you love? We're not talking about that. We're talking about us recognizing that actually I'm really quite good at this stuff. And actually, if you look at what the world needs, it needs us to be heroic within what we're good at, in order to, and if what we're good at is listening, then that's a heroic action. And what we're good at is ideas, or we're good at is non-judgment. As you are, if you look at your vitality test profile, you're a very non-judgmental, accepting, open person, which is why people warm to you very, very quickly. And that is a gift that you can bring out in people. And if you look at the work that you do, it stems from that easy, natural talent that you have of making people feel listened to, or valued, or non-judged, or explored.
I found doing the vitality test very interesting, and you learn a lot about myself in terms of that. And one of the things that I find interesting is how we often dismiss things which don't have a physical outcome. Well, the outcome's not quite so easy to measure. So, for example, you use listening. You know, one of the things that time and time again comes across when speaking to clients is that they feel heard, that they feel seen. And if you're listening to this, you know, listening to somebody, and I mean truly listening, giving them your 100% attention, not half of it on the clock or on the mobile phone, not thinking, oh God, what am I going to cook for dinner? But truly holding that space for someone. I think that's one of the biggest gifts that you can give anyone.
Yeah. No, I would absolutely agree. But then we have very similar energies, so
Well,
we would
yeah.
think that. We would think that.
Okay.
Whereas someone else might think, well, actually, if you have a lot of wood energy, your big thing is actually the most important thing is to defend the people that cannot defend themselves.
Yeah.
That is the most important thing. We have a lot of
I want them to be able to defend themselves and have that capacity to do that.
absolutely, but that's your energy is wanting to do that, and someone else says, well, actually, what we need to do is make them independent, or what we need to do is so every energy has a view of the world that is their truth.
Yes.
And someone with a lot of water energy will say, well, the most important thing is we create safety and security for people, and we create a place where they can fulfill their purpose and their promise.
Yes.
And you say, well, no, the most important thing is we listen to them. No, 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 no.
No, I didn't say no.
No, no.
I didn't say the most. I said it's a huge gift you can give.
Yes. Okay. That was me not listening properly.
We're going to go to another break, but when we come back, I'd like to explore the relationship between the relationship we have with ourselves and the relationship we have with other people, and how by strengthening the relationship that we have with ourselves, that improves our relationship with others. So don't go away. Relationships, well, they color the whole of your life. And, you know, you think about the people that you love. You may not like the people that you love all the time, the people you work with. How do you get on with them? You know, what are your relationships like? So, Nicholas, come on, what do you see as the relationship between our relationship with us and our relationship with other people?
I think it's one of love and kindness and respect. And if we are not kind and loving to ourselves and respectful for ourselves, then it's really hard to be fully that way with other people. So at the Five Institute, we talk about something called your kind set. So it's like your mindset, except it's all about kindness. And we get people to ask 3 questions in a situation. Is this kind to me? Is this kind to others? And is this kind to the planet? And that's a dance. And sometimes you have to be a little bit kinder to others, and other times you have to be a little bit kinder to yourselves, and other times you have to be a little bit kinder to the planet. But it's about trying to get that in balance.
Yeah.
So I've never, ever met anybody that is too kind.
No.
But I have met people that are out of balance with that kindness. And it's the same with self-love. So it's trying to get that balance right. But we tend to kind of start with, let's start to work out to be kind and forgiving and loving and respectful to ourselves. And that is the foundation. And once we do that, it makes it much easier for us to do that for other people, because we're not comparing, we're not doing, the normal game stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think comparatonitis is far more deadly than any virus, but there we go. That's an interesting way of looking at it, because ultimately, I think many, many people are out of balance, that their sense of self-worth is based on, if I am help everybody and I never say no, and I put my priorities at the bottom of the pile, then I'll feel better about myself. But ultimately, it's never quite enough. And so often people ignore their own health, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. And so they become ill because they're so busy trying to help other people, but in reality, trying to make themselves feel better.
Yeah. No. That's certainly a very strong pattern.
Yes.
And I mean, every energy has a life lesson, if you're trying to work with that, in a way, is one of the kind of universal ones. Of some energies have a little bit more emphasis on knowing the difference between sacrificing and giving.
Yes.
And accepting
that could be a whole program in itself.
Yes. And one of my things I recognize as one of my purposes, or one of my beliefs in life, is that I believe that everybody in the world should have someone that's there for them.
Yeah.
And my confusion was, I thought that had to be me in every instant. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but
No, I can resonate with that. But then, as you say, our models are fairly similar.
Yeah, so I got myself in trouble thinking I had to be there for everyone. Now I just kind of try to facilitate that
Yes.
Within a situation. But yeah, I think it is a where we kind of really kind of get to understand and ourselves and kind to ourselves gets to be much easier for other people. And I think the whole kindness movement is really out of whack and out of balance. It really kind of throws it, because if you look at people say, oh, are they kind? They look at as to whether or not they're being kind to other people or perhaps the planet. They never look on. And when we have these random acts of kindness, the random acts of kindness, 99% of them are aimed at external kindness rather than internal kindness. And the problem with constantly being out of balance with that external kindness, or being kind to other people or perhaps the planet, and we're not kind to ourselves, it sets up an imbalance that we then start to feel a fraud, that we know that deep down we're not being kind to others. So we have to be kinder and kinder to the outside to try and get rid of this horrible feeling that as you described it's creating an imbalance, and we're trying to heal something within ourselves. Where we say, well, why don't you just practice trying to do all three at the same time, just like you were trying to practice to dance or to get that right or to get that balance. And it's a beautiful game to try and get right.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to try and get it. You don't have to get it right. You just have to have a go as best you can.
It's really interesting because, working with people, I love the whole strategy of random acts of kindness. But part of my strategy that I ask people to do is that you have to be in the mix. So a random act of kindness to yourself each day and a random act of kindness to other people. Do it for 30 days and you'll find that there is a qualitative difference in how you feel. And random acts of kindness to others do help others, but make no mistake, it's a gift to us as well, so long as I take it you're in balance. How many people really struggle with the random act of kindness to self. And to start with, they see it as, I'll be indulgent to myself. So my random act of kindness might be a donut or another glass of wine. And then my challenge to them is that serving you at your highest level in terms of your health, physical, mental, emotional, and so on, until they get the recognize that actually it might be giving myself 5 minutes of peace and stillness, or it might be taking myself out at lunchtime for a walk rather than working through my lunchtime. And being able to create that balance, I think, is so important.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely. I love this conversation, Gina. You're absolutely right. I think one of the ways to try and get a handle on that is just recognizing what it is that we value.
Yes.
And we're kind and we're supportive and we're loving to what it is that we value. And if we don't value ourselves, we don't value our health or don't value our well-being until it's gone. But if we don't value that, then it's very hard to prioritize that, or not even prioritize it, just to give it its just dessert, just to give it its energy. So it's recognizing what it is that we value, and that in a way comes right back to the kind of beginning part of the conversation, is through the vitality test or the relationship with ourselves, is ultimately valuing us and ourselves and what we're here to do or what we're here to bring to the world, and then valuing other people for what they're doing and accepting that they may have a very different set of priorities based on their energy dynamic that's different than yours. And how could I help them? How could you help them? And how could you help them?
I'm very conscious that we're in the last 2 or 3 minutes of the program. You're going to have to come back. We've got so much to talk about. So where can people find you?
So they can go to the FIVE Institute, FIVE Institute, INSTUTUE. I'm dyslexic, so that spelling was very, very wrong. FIVEinstitute.com, or just search the vitality test online. Just search on Google and we'll come up.
Brilliant. And I really recommend that you do it. Costs you nothing, but my goodness me, it gives you an insight into you and how you operate. If you're listening to this, please encourage other people to listen. We give free meals based on the numbers of listeners each month. And, you know, if you're a business, then do please think about joining B1G1. It's a great way of making giving an integral part of your business and can be great marketing too. It just remains for me to say a huge thank you for joining me, Nicholas. We'll definitely have you back. And to say to those of you that are listening, if you'd like to contact me, it's Gina at Gina Gardiner and Friends. Gina, Gina, Gardiner, Gardiner, and the word and friends. Gina at Gina Gardiner and Friends. Please email me. Let me know what you think of the show. Let me know if there are themes you'd like us to cover, or if you'd like to consider working with me, then please drop me an email. Take care. Thank you so much. And we'll look forward to seeing you in the next show. Bye-bye now.